Good evening. Welcome. We do have a quorum here this evening, and I'd like to call the November 15th, 2016 meeting of the Board of Education to order. We have a special guest with us this evening, Nathan Celia, 5th grade student at Pangbourne Elementary School. Nathan, would you come up to the mic and help us with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So Nathan, welcome. Appreciate that. I think you have a special guest, two of them, with you this evening. Would you do the introductions, please?
This is my older brother, Farah, and my principal, Mr. Meredith, and my mom, Adama Kamara.
Ah, Mom showed up. Welcome. Thank you so much. Nathan, so help us with a favorite subject. What do you like about school? What would you like us to know about you?
My favorite subject is math, and I really like doing it because it really teaches us a lot about what to do and time. And I also like to sometimes read when it's very quiet and peaceful. I also like how the school has lots of chants, like prepared, positive, and peaceful, and keeping your hands, feet, and using your mind creatively.
I love that. Did you practice that, or did you just think it up as you're standing there?
I kind of thought it while I was sitting down.
Excellent. Great preparation. What else would you like us to know about you? Your home? Do you have pets? Do you play sports?
I used to have 3 goldfish, and I also like to play soccer. I've played it for a while.
Very good. What happened to the goldfish?
One of them, I think I probably overfed them.
That'll happen from time to time. Any of my colleagues like to ask a question?
I'm glad you didn't say your fish drowned.
Thought he'd have a comment. Come back to that. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Probably that I like how my teacher really likes to teach us to get ready for 6th grade and how we're always prepared for the next grade and how the school teaches us how to get ready for college.
Wow, big thoughts. Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you for bringing me here.
A wonderful way to start the evening. Let's start with the approval of the agenda.
Madam President, I move for the approval of the agenda as recommended by the Agenda Planning Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Harding. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Any discussion on the draft agenda? All those in favor? 7-0, and Ms. Greenwald concurs with the majority. All right, approval of the minutes.
Yes, I move for approval of the minutes of the closed session held on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016.
A second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the closed session minutes? Mrs. Harshman?
I would like to propose a few amendments to those. On page 195 of the minutes, where the second...
Mrs. Harshman, these are closed session minutes?
No.
Yes.
This motion is closed session
I'm sorry.
minutes?
Okay, I'll hold that for the other one then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify. Abstention? Thank you. All right, second set of minutes.
Yes, I move for approval of the minutes for the business meeting held on Tuesday, November 1st, 2016.
Thank you. And a second for that.
Second.
Thank you. Now, you have some discussion on that.
Yes, the second paragraph on 195, where it starts out, Mrs. Harshman stated, I would like to insert this part of a sentence in front of that, and it would say, following Mrs. Fisher's attack on the integrity of Mrs. Williams and Mr. Gesford, Mrs. Harshman stated that, and then I would like to have inserted where it starts out with "she welcomes." What I had said was that it would say she would not put her friends, and in parentheses, Mr. Gesford and Mrs. Williams, parenthesis, in at the position, parenthesis, defending their integrity, parenthesis, and that she welcomes the state's involvement, and on from there. And then, this is all in the same paragraph, then where you get to, she maintained that she is no politician. The way it's written there, it does not really show the quote that I was giving and the reason I said that. And the quote is that it would say, she is no politician because a politician is concerned about the next election. She is a statesman because a statesman is concerned with the next generation.
Okay. Is there a second on this?
Second.
Okay, I do have a request, Mrs. Harshman, since you read quite a few changes and it's very difficult up here for all of us. Is there any way we could pass on this motion at this point, have you write those down and we'll come back to this? I'm not sure how any of us can actually vote on something where we can't see all the changes in front of us.
The changes were just additions to explain what had happened, but I will be glad to write them out for you.
What is the will of my colleagues?
I'll make a motion that we postpone action on the approval of these minutes until after the superintendent, until after reports to the board.
Would that give you enough time?
I think so.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to defer discussion on the minutes until after the recognition? All those in favor? Looks like 7-0 student concurs.
I said after
After-
reports to the board.
After reports to the board. Okay. Is everyone all right with that? We're going to move forward. We have no one signed up for public comment. Is there anyone here this evening that would like to come forward and address the board? Please come forward. Introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Carlos Malat. I'm here tonight as a parent. Okay.
You have 5 minutes.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Wilcox and members of the board. Last week, I wrote an email to Dr. Wilcox, and I copied all of you. Dr. Wilcox was kind enough to respond and to hear my comments and my concerns. In this email, I wrote to you about some of the concerns I have heard in our community post-presidential election, specifically children worried about them or their loved ones being deported, concerns about safety issues with regard to Muslims, LGBT, and immigrant families. I know for a fact that WCPS works very, very hard to provide a safe working and learning environment. That being said, this election stressed out many of us, but it also stressed out our children. My oldest recently told me that he wanted to go back to Paraguay because he felt it was safer for us. My 8-year-old told me that his friend liked a specific candidate because they would get rid of all the immigrants. And I then had to explain to my son that his mother, his brother, and I are all immigrants. And then I had to try to explain this concept of immigration to my son. A family friend whose daughter attends one of our middle schools told me this weekend that one of her friends told another one of her friends that he was going to get deported. All of this is too much for a child. I requested a communication to be sent to parents and students in an effort to reassure, but also to let parents and kids know that they are in fact safe and that we do have counselors and staff who continue to be available to listen and to provide reassurance as they always do on a daily basis. On Friday, Dr. Wilcox sent an email to teachers, and I greatly and truly appreciate this effort and this first step. I'm here tonight to ask all of you, as a board, to come together, to put your differences and political beliefs aside, and to collectively take a giant leap. I'm asking you to take a leap to be a leader, as no one else that I have heard has spoken up on behalf of our children in this regard with this situation. I'm asking you to lead the proactive effort in continuing to ensure that our children are not bullied, are not threatened, and are reassured that they are safe. To be clear, I'm not talking about the outcome of the election. Rather, I'm talking about the uptick in acts and statements of hate towards our most victimized members of society in this country. I'm asking that you take the lead and be proactive here in our community and our county, and to do so before it hits home in a tangible and ugly form that we won't be able to walk back from. There's probably a lot that can be done. However, in this case specifically, I would ask again, and I don't have all the answers, but in this case, I would ask again that something go home to parents and children. And I'm requesting specifically that something go home in Spanish and possibly other languages so that our English learning families are communicated with directly regarding what services might be available to them and their children while reassuring them about their safety. I'm asking that we as a community unite and that our students, educators, and parents come together in the cause of love and solidarity. In my humble opinion, this topic is directly interrelated with the diversity efforts of the school system. As always, I continue to be appreciative of the efforts taken on by the school board, those headed by WCPS Human Resources. I agree with the committee's charge to propose new initiatives or expand existing programs that promote respect for all cultures and diversity throughout Washington County. I am in support of identifying effective practices to enhance educational and employment opportunities, recruit, retain, develop, and promote a diverse and inclusive workforce, and establish a more inclusive community in ways such as enhancing arts and cultural opportunities, affordable quality housing options, and improved transportation options. This is a noble charge. And in light of the divisiveness in this country at this time, I am asking the elected board to possibly explore the expedition of ad hoc committee process so that we do not have to wait until December of 2017 for a report and suggested actions. In my humble opinion, I believe that we cannot wait or put this effort off any longer. Our children need tangible results yesterday. If I can assist in these efforts, I am more than happy to do so. And I again thank you so much for your time, your consideration, and continued efforts and service to our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here this evening that would like to come forward and address the board? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. There is a segment here where board members can respond to the public comment. Okay. Moving forward then to special recognition. Dr. Wilcox.
Thank you. This evening, it gives me great pleasure to speak momentarily about American Education Week, but I do want to just say a word given Mr. Malat's comments. It is true that I sent something out to all of our teachers, staff members on Friday of this past week, encouraging them to be mindful and respectful of the kids that are suffering within the school system. But prior to that, our guidance and counseling staff had sent out a number of links so that our classroom teachers, so that our guidance and counseling staff, and others in the school, administrators, would have a series of tools to help reassure the young people. That's not meant to say that the board ought to sit on its hands or not do anything. It is simply to say to the board and to our community that we care passionately and deeply about all of our kids, particularly our kids who are most vulnerable. And as a school system, we have moved forward with those kinds of initiatives to make kids feel welcome, to feel supported, and to feel safe. It's my pleasure today to ask the team from the WESP group to come forward. If you'd come to the table. This is American Education Week, and it's a time for us to stop and celebrate the great things that are going on in public education. We have a special day set apart later in the year where we'll honor teachers, but right now, tomorrow is a day that we've set aside to honor our ESP team members. They're the people that work with our kids, not necessarily directly in the classroom, but sometimes in the classroom. They're the people that make sure that our buses are operational, that our buses pick kids up. They provide food service. They provide clerical support. They provide classroom, backroom support to our classroom teachers so they can be successful. They're the people who sit in the offices and field phone call after phone call and guide people to access the services of the district. And so today it's our day to stop and say thank you to all of you. I have a proclamation that I'm going to read. I will also share with the board members that later this week we'll also celebrate the parents who are engaged with us on a day-to-day basis and help make school a great place. But for now, for tomorrow and for this evening, it's our ESP team's chance to shine. So let me please read this resolution, which I'll then present to President Hines. And board members, I'll ask you at some point after the resolution is done to walk down and shake hands as a show of support and solidarity with our ESP team members. So it reads, resolution. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they'll need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality. And whereas education support professionals are an integral part of the educational process. And whereas education support professionals provide a safe and healthy learning environment for students. And whereas education support professionals work tirelessly to serve our children and the communities with care and great professionalism. Therefore, be it resolved that this week of November 14th through the 18th, 2016, should be observed as American Education Week, and that Wednesday, November 16th, be observed as National Education Support Professionals Day in the Washington County Public Schools, presented this 15th day of November 2016, and signed by all of the board members and myself on behalf of a community that is just grateful. Anne Marie, thank you very much. Jimmy, thank you. Thank you. Board members, would you join me in thanking? The audience can join me in a round of applause for our support. Thank you. Thank you. Give this to you. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, we have, you're completed? Okay, we have no unfinished business, so we're moving into new business, consideration of the consent agenda. Welcome, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. Today I have two items for review, the details of which were included in your packets. Staff is seeking to rescind award of the Washington County Government bid PUR-1329 under option 1 and approval of Washington County Government's bid PUR-1329 in aggregate to AC&T Company under option 2 for bulk gasoline and diesel fuel deliveries. Staff is also seeking approval of the purchase of 3 additional frontline education software modules at a cost of $38,768.75. And staff is here for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, excuse me, move to rescind prior award of Washington County Government's bid PUR 1329 to PAPCO Inc., IPC USA Inc., and AC&T Company Inc. under option 1 of the bid for gas and diesel fuel deliveries, and approve bid PUR 1329 for bulk gasoline and diesel fuel deliveries in the aggregate under option 2 of the bid to AC&T Company per unit prices, and to approve the purchase of 3 additional frontline education software modules at a cost of $38,768.75.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? 7-0, and student concurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks.
So that brings us to consideration of the 2017-2018 High School Program of Studies. Dr. Pugh, welcome. If your team would like to come forward.
Dr. Pugh is not feeling well, so she's promised to keep this very brief and hold her team members back a little bit as well. So thank you for coming forward.
Oh, well, okay
They
then.
elected for me to go through it so I could do it fairly quickly, and then they would answer any questions that you might have. Good evening. We're happy to bring to you a few updates in our course offerings as we do yearly. This publication is our best attempt to communicate with all students and parents, and specifically with students and parents transitioning to the high school, specifically in the 9th grade. The changes we'll review with you are those larger changes that we wanted to specifically bring to your attention. There are also a number of edits and general updates needed to meet Maryland State Department of Education guidelines for the publication of our program of studies. All of the proposed changes and edits were provided to you in a draft 2017-18 program of studies in preparation for discussion and a motion for approval this evening. I have with me in various places, some farther away than others, Mr. Cody Pine, Career Technology Education Specialist, Dr. April Bishop for Math and Science, Paula Moore for World Language and English Learners, Dr. Jessica Reinhardt for Supervisor of Advanced Programs, and Maureen Margovich, Supervisor of Testing and Accountability. And they can answer the very specific detailed questions that you might have. So our first set of changes, beginning with the career technology education portion, there were 2 courses that were added last year specifically for the Washington County Technical High School program that currently that program was ended at the end of last year. So those courses are no longer offered anywhere in the county, and they're not necessary in our book. That doesn't mean that in the future, should we expand our agriculture offerings, that we couldn't bring it back, but it's not a course that's available to students for next year. In science, as we transition to the implementing the next generation science standards at the high school level, we have offered the required integrated chemistry and physics this year, and while we still have honors physics and chemistry available, there's no longer a need for separate grade level courses in physics and chemistry. In computer science, we have a computer science completer at Smithsburg High School, Boonesboro High School, and North Hagerstown High School. And students in this sequence are now ready for the top 2 courses according to the Maryland State Department of Education computer science pathway. We've developed and added these new courses to accommodate this student need. At the same time, we've deleted elective courses that do not and will not lead to a computer science completer for our students. Under the Every Student Succeeds Act, the term English language learner has been shortened to English learner. Under this proposal, students who speak a different native language will now have the opportunity to earn a world language credit for learning English, which is arguably as challenging or more challenging than other level 1 and level 2 languages. Excuse me. We've also added an advanced English learner class to continue to support those learners who need a 3rd year of language support. For the International Baccalaureate program, we're excited to begin expanding the IB program to students who typically are in a career technology education program. This program will provide North Hagerstown High School students with the flexibility to experience college-level courses excuse me, in selected areas of interest in order to gain the essential thinking skills and the international mindedness necessary to be lifelong learners while defining their roles in an ever-changing community. This program allows students the opportunity to do both career technology completer programs and to start taking some of the more advanced and rigorous courses where their strengths lie. So to be awarded this recognition, students must successfully complete all the components of the career prep program, the CTE core, and then attempt between 2 and 4 standard or higher level courses that match that student's skill area. And they also must earn a minimum score of a 3 in at least 2 IB diploma courses and complete their career-related course sequence that meets the requirements established by the Maryland State Department of Education. To do this, to extend this opportunity to our students, we've added the required courses for the IB career program and added 3 offerings to enhance the currently existing IB diploma program. The Personal and Professional Skills course is an excellent course for students getting ready to go into a career or a tech industry. It's those soft skills that our businesses are asking us about for our students and the awareness of the industry. The chemistry, IB chemistry, we're fortunate to be able to now have a trained teacher to be able to offer the IB chemistry at the standard level, Part 1 and Part 2. For blended learning, we have been, for the past few years at least, offering blended learning as a model, as an alternative method for earning high school credits. Currently, in our Twilight and our Evening High programs, we offer courses for both original and repeat credit, typically to meet the needs of the students. And this model is one such that students who need a course can attend a physical face-to-face class for 20% of the time and 80% of the time complete work outside of the class. It allows students to continue working. It allows students to move forward fairly quickly in their programs. It also allows students to take courses that would allow them to continue taking courses, elective courses that they love. So they can take courses at a non-typical time than during the school day. So we felt it was important to add that into our program of studies as another way of earning credits. We also have updated requirements for graduation. A new legislation was passed. We have our biology and government high school assessments, were the last 2 high school assessments standing of the previous 4. Next year, the biology high school assessment will be replaced by the Maryland Integrated Science Assessment in 2017 and 18. Also, the proposal for establishing proficiency, what proficiency is on the English 10 PARCC exam and the Algebra 1 PARCC exam, has now been adopted by the state. Excuse me. Almost made it through. Adopted by the state, and that proficiency level is a 725, which is in the 3 proficiency level. So currently, students who meet a proficiency level of 3 through 5 in the year that they take this test will be considered proficient. That will change, thank you. That will change each year until only the 4 and 5 are considered proficient. And finally, the multi-state alternative assessment replaced the Alt MSA in English Language Arts and Math starting this year for grades 3 through 8 and 11. This is a computer adaptive assessment that I think we shared information with you previously, but this is the new assessment. And at that point, we'll take any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. We need a motion on this. It is an action item.
Madam President, I move for the approval of the 2017-2018 high school program of studies.
Thank you, Dr. Hardings. A second?
Second.
Which one?
Doesn't
Mr. Ridenhour, thank you for that second. Okay, floor is open for discussion. Mrs. Harshman.
I have a question about the one that's titled English Learner. Is there going to be any confusion about whether the person is learning English as an English class or whether the person is learning English as a language by calling it English Learner?
That's what we're calling the course as well, English Learner. And I believe the regular English classes are either ELA or English.
Okay, I'm just wondering, I mean, I know because that's what I taught, but I'm just wondering if it would confuse any parents or anybody about exactly what an English learner is.
Well, previously in the program of studies, the course was called ELL. So we're just dropping the L. So the course is pretty much the same, just dropping the L.
Yeah, I understand. I was just concerned about the name. Okay, and the other question I have is on graduation requirements and high school assessments. And I know that at one point in time, we expressed great concern about students taking the AP classes and getting a passing grade in the AP class, yet the student failed the AP test. Is the fact that we have lowered the passing grade for a class to a D influencing any of the results of these tests? In other words, have we gotten a larger number of students not passing the test but passing the classes on a D than we had before when the grade was C for passing?
We haven't really done that study, and that wouldn't, I guess we can look into that for you.
Okay, I was just a little concerned because, like I said, I know that the AP, a lot of AP teachers were sort of backed against the wall and said, why is the student passing your class and yet not passing the test? Which, unless you're only counting tests in a class, that would certainly happen because you would count homework and participation and so on, which would up a student's grade sometimes higher than a test would. So I was just curious if the D had any results on whether these students are passing these tests.
We haven't done the correlation this year. We did a correlation last year, and we can look more into it. But I think that one of the things that you're talking about is separating how students did on the standards versus those other learner behaviors things.
Right.
And I mean, I think that's a conversation we're engaging in right now for standards-based grading, to basically talk about how do we really clearly communicate to parents and to others how students are learning on mastering the standards versus mastering the standards and the learner behaviors of turning in homework and being present. So, but that's not part of what we have here for you tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes, with regard to the blended learning, can you give me an idea of how many and which courses are available to students where they're able to do the 80% online?
So it's basically, we set it up with the Evening High, and it's based on the needs of the students in all of the schools. So what courses do we need? Many times it's in English 12, many times it's in English 11, because some of it's based upon what students are requiring, and at other times it's based on what an individual student needs, that if we're teaching the course at Evening High or through Twilight, through the blended learning, that they can participate in.
So you have the capability to do any class in this manner, or?
No,
Well,
I would not say
phys ed, I would say probably not, but.
Right. Well, we primarily are using both some of the MSDE courses and some courses that are done through Apex. So the requirement is that Apex courses and approved courses from MSDE, and then that we have the need for them, that there's a demand by the students to have those courses. We're looking at expanding in the spring to include some courses, those 4 required electives that are required of all students, health, foundations of technology, to see if we can't offer those maybe in alternative sites as well.
Thank you.
Additional questions?
I just have one quick
Yes,
one, if that's
Dr.
okay.
Hardings.
Sure. So help me understand, I know you explained it. We've deleted chemistry and physics. Way to hit me right where it counts in my last meeting.
I know.
But let me see if I understand this. So a student who would be taking, say as a sophomore, honors chemistry, there still is honors chemistry.
Absolutely.
There's just not straight chemistry that's not honors. That now has been mixed with physics to create one course in 1 year.
Yes.
So we still teach chemistry.
Yes.
We still teach, well, We still teach honors chemistry, we still teach AP chemistry, we still teach honors physics, we still teach AP physics, just not entry-level chemistry or entry-level physics.
Correct. They're combined into the one course, integrated physics and chemistry.
Great, thank you. I couldn't have my last meeting vote on eliminating physics. I mean, I never lived that down. Thank you for the explanation.
There'd be something very wrong with that.
There would. You have to drag me out of here.
And we agree, physics should be honors level.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Okay, any additional questions, comments? Okay, I do have one sort of based on Dr. Harding's needing to finish up with a science question. I'm going to finish up with a career tech question. I know that surprises everyone. Help me understand, and I know that especially in the ag career tech, we have the curriculum for ag science, the CASE curriculum. Help me understand whether schools have flexibility in a 6-period day versus a 7-period day, because the 6-period day has really made it very difficult for career tech students and CASE students to have the amount of time they need to do this work well. And if we expect the same academic level for our career tech students as well as our college students, if we don't see a separation between those, which I don't think there is, how can we help them by giving them more flexibility with that scheduling? So that's, and sort of on top of that, is there a chance to get more credit at the middle school level, which then opens up the high school scheduling options for our students who want to explore many different pathways? So I don't know who wants to tackle that.
So if I could take it on a couple different levels.
Okay.
Some of what we're studying in the Every Student Succeeds Act that hasn't been passed yet, or I mean that's been passed but hasn't been implemented, and the regulations
Good luck
haven't,
with that
the
one.
rules haven't come down. Right. So some of that has to do with what happens when they earn credits in middle school. I think it's Baltimore, who was in the meeting this morning, Baltimore City?
Baltimore County.
Baltimore County, who is now not honoring any credits earned in middle school at all. And that's because of the requirements for ESSA for maths, for Englishes, and about how they count it. And I'm not saying we're ready to make any drastic moves like that. But I think to your question, in the 6-period day, you can still do a good CTE course pathway. Right now, in the home schools, it's four courses, a series of 4 courses. And right now they're offered in semesterized methods. I think if we have the need to add to those for a program such as an academy program where we're having a capstone experience, or we can tag on with our youth apprenticeship program where we're putting kids in the actual field for paid work studies that could also count as an industry standard. So your question is, can you do it now, and what will it look like in the future? And I think we can do it now, and I think in the future we have some pretty good guidance from MSDE on how to allow students, how to align our programs with what they're aligning with in CASE.
And along with Frederick County, we're piloting the Youth Apprenticeship in Maryland program. So that is really giving students the opportunity beyond the school day, and some during, but as a capstone, as a final project to allow them industry experience, and through that, hopefully industry certification. So that's the way we're working.
And that was only funded for 1 year?
Cody and I are working for free.
Not even really.
Not even. I thought it was like only 5,000 divided up between the 2 counties,
Right.
which is like, okay, a yawn. Do you think there's an opportunity? Have we reapplied? Is there any money left to try to continue that?
It's looking like there's more money coming from MSDE in the pipeline, but it's not been officially announced yet.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, additional questions? Not seeing any. This is a formal action. All those in favor, please signify. 7-0, student concurs. Thank you for your time, Dr. Pugh. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you.
All right. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. I just have really one item. This evening is the last board meeting for 2 of our board members. Mrs. Brightman will be stepping off the board. It's, I think, important for us to note that she was appointed to the board on May 30th of 2007, which means that she has spent nearly 10 years of service to families and students in WCPS. Mrs. Brightman, on behalf of all of the staff members and team members here, we want to thank you for that. Dr. Hardings was sworn in on December 2nd, 2008. This is Dr. Hardings' last meeting as well. Dr. Hardings will finish up 8 years of service to the families and students of WCPS. You know, there probably isn't enough time this evening to go back and review and celebrate the many, many successes that you 2 board members have been a part of, or to really honor your service to this community and to the students, staff members, and especially to those of us here in this building. Your leadership has been important to all of us, and on behalf of my team, and I hope on behalf of your colleagues and many others across the system, we want to say thank you and present each of you with this small token of our appreciation. It is a plaque, and if I may read it to you, it's, both of them have the same text, but this one says, Washington County Board of Education, Donna Brightman. On behalf of the members of the Washington County Board of Education and the entire team of educators and staff, we thank you for your leadership, commitment, and dedication to the Washington County Public Schools. We are honored to stand next to you in your tireless effort to serve our children and families this November 15th, 2016. Mrs. Brightman, please take this on behalf of a grateful school district.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Hardings, please take this on behalf of a grateful school district. Please join me in thanking these members. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wilcox. Very thoughtful of the board. I appreciate that, and I'm sure Dr. Hardings does as well. And remind me, are we going after this report or for the minutes, back to the minutes?
I said after reports to the board, but yeah.
Well, let's go ahead. Ms. Greenwald, we're going to start with reports to the board. It looks like Mrs. Harshman may still be writing. So if you'd like to do reports from student government.
The Student Government Association had their middle school retreat today in Harpers Ferry. They went through various workshops, and some of them were actually facilitated by other student leaders. We will be having the high school version of that tomorrow. And because of these 2 retreats, we will not be having a general assembly for the month.
Very good. Mrs. Harshman, any report?
We have not had a meeting and will not have one until the changing of the guard.
Okay, very good. Mrs. Williams.
Yes, the Finance Committee will meet on Tuesday, November 22nd. That's next Tuesday at noon in the 3rd floor conference room.
Mr. Gesford.
Right now, the Facilities Committee decided that they did not need to meet the rest of this year, so they'll be taking back up the gavel in January.
Very good. Mrs. Fisher.
Policy Committee has not met since our last business meeting. However, we will be meeting on November 29th at 9 a.m. in the board meeting room, and the agenda will be posted on board docs.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Ridenour.
C&I did not meet last week or has not met since our last meeting. There will be no meeting this month.
Very good. Any additional reports from MABE committees? Not seeing any. Okay, that takes us to future agenda items. I believe it pretty much speaks for itself that we always have a pause as the board reorganizes and the swearing in. But if you look on the back of the future agenda items, you'll see some planned reports, the digital learning plan update in January, outreach to parents and community update, and to an earlier comment from the public, the Diversity Ad Hoc Committee update. That date has not been determined, but I know that there is interest to move that forward as soon as we possibly can. Okay. That finishes up. So, Mrs. Harshman, we're back to the minutes.
Okay, do you want,
Do you need copies made of that? For you?
yeah, I guess so.
Jeez, I'll get copies made.
Okay.
We're going to just pause for a moment to have some copies made.
And one for the press.
Should I go ahead? Mrs. Fisher.
I have a procedural question.
Yes.
Should these corrections, because I believe they occur in different paragraphs, be broken down one at a time?
They're all in the same paragraph.
Oh, they are on the same paragraph?
Okay.
Okay, I thought they were different. I'm sorry.
While we're waiting, it might be helpful to the public to understand the process of our minutes. The board assistant, Ms. Chekovic, is sitting here with us at all of our meetings. She takes very detailed minutes. We do have our video, we have our audio, so we have a lot of redundancy, and I know every effort is made to capture the minutes in an accurate way. So with that, this is a little difficult to do on the fly like this. How many changes are there, Mrs. Harshman?
3.
Okay.
We'll have copies in just a moment.
Okay. Give us the page again on minutes.
195, the second paragraph down.
Second paragraph down.
Yes.
Starting with your name or Mr. Ridenhour's, there's not a full paragraph at the top. That's a continuation.
Right, so it would be the second paragraph down, which starts with my name, but that's not how it would start out if it's amended.
Okay. Has everyone found the page? While we're waiting for copies, would you maybe read your corrections again? We'll see if we can capture it.
Okay, starting with the very first line of paragraph 2, it would say, following Mrs. Fisher's attack on the integrity of Mrs. Williams and Mr. Gesford, Mrs. Harshman stated that, and then it would continue over to, well, it just starts there. She would not put her friends, Mr. Gesford and Mrs. Williams, in the position of defending their integrity, and that she welcomes the states, and then the rest of that sentence on down to the next sentence, which starts out, she maintained that she is no politician, and the rest of that quote, which comes from, I believe it's James Clark, that she is no politician, for a politician is concerned about the next election. She is a statesman, for a statesman is concerned about the next generation.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to receive the minutes? Again, this is the second motion on the public session minutes. We have that motion on the floor, and now we have an amendment to that original motion. And I believe it was seconded, Mr. Gesford. Are there any comments, discussions on this amendment as stated? Dr. Hardings.
I can support it all except for the first clause. I won't support adding following Mrs. Fisher's attack on the integrity of. Everything else I'm glad to add, but if Mrs. Harshman insists on leaving that in, then I'm going to vote against the amendment.
Mrs. Harshman?
My reason for putting that in was because later you will see that not only did I not want them to have their integrity questioned, I also wanted to be sure that this did go to the state. There were some inaccuracies and some procedural problems with not only the sending it to the state the way it was, but also with Dr. Harding's letter. So what I wanted to be sure was that the state got this as opposed to the majority of 4 making the decision on what would happen. So that was the reason when they were basically called into question for their integrity, I was not going to let that happen if there was any way possible. Therefore, I made it clear that I would support them by voting for that so that they did not have to go up against the attacks that they did sitting here that were also directed at me. So that was my reason for the first clause.
So I believe your answer is that you would ask to retain the word attack.
I would like to. If it's a difference in adding in the rest, which makes the statements clearer, then I would take it out, but I do want that to appear in the minutes that I ask for that to be left in.
Mrs. Fisher?
I object to the additions to this paragraph and would prefer that we go back to the tape and put this paragraph in word for word as it was actually stated.
That would be fine. That would be absolutely fine, because it would certainly spell out the things that don't appear there as far as the quote goes. If I were looking at that and I wasn't aware of the quote, I'd have no idea what the difference would be. So, oh yes, I mean, that would be okay too.
Additional comments? Again, the motion on the floor is on the amendment.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we table this to the next meeting. Can that be?
No.
Well, you can't really table it since 2 of the members won't be here that need to vote on these minutes.
5 who can vote.
I mean, you can table it. I mean, you can table it. There'll be 5 of the 7 here.
But if we're going to go by the tape, we'll have the tape.
That's fine.
Well, there'll be 5 of the 7 here for this set of minutes as well,
That's correct.
right?
Right. And it'll take 4 of the 5 to pass this set of minutes. So it would take 4 of the 5 to pass the amended ones here.
Right.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fisher?
May I suggest that the motion be withdrawn and that someone make a motion that the exact wording from the tape be put in place of this particular paragraph? And we will trust that.
There will be 2 motions. We have to take back, Mrs. Harshman, your amendment, Mrs. Williams, your original motion for the minutes.
Madam President,
Yes.
can I make a suggestion?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
What? If the consensus seems to be not add what Mrs. Harshman has suggested, but instead to put what's on the tape in there, why don't we vote on the amendment, which is the pending business? We can vote the amendment down, and then somebody can offer another amendment to replace the paragraph in question with the exact transcript from the tape. That can be the amendment, and then we can go and vote on the original motion made by Mrs. Williams. That would, I think, take care of what
Does
everybody's
that
after.
everyone
Makes sense.
understand
May
that?
I
Yes.
say something else? Rather than just one paragraph, may I suggest that we consider the 2 paragraphs that reflect the changes that Mrs. Harshman, that we take 2 paragraphs, the one beginning currently with Mrs. Fisher and the other beginning with Mrs. Harshman, that we take those 2 paragraphs from the tape.
Well, let's start with the original
Right.
motion, amended minutes, and then someone can bring that up. Mrs. Harshman, you understand where we're going?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
All of those in favor of the amendment that Mrs. Harshman offered, please signify.
Wasn't I taking that off?
All
the
those
table?
opposed?
Wasn't I?
No, we're actually voting against the amendment, and then we're going to have another amendment.
Okay.
Can I see the opposition votes again, please? Okay, looks like 6 to 1 with student concurring with the majority. All right, I will entertain a motion to have the exact wording placed in the minutes.
For the 2 paragraphs.
For the whoever would like to put it out there for consideration.
I can't do it. I made the
I
original
understand. I
motion.
understand that.
So this is going to be the 2 paragraphs that we're going to add into it. So I'll make a motion that we add the 2 paragraphs back into the
Replace.
No.
replace. Okay,
With
we're
the
with the actual tape.
Everyone understands what we're voting on. Is there a second to Mr.
Excuse me, just a point of order. Just so we get it right, because I can't vote for that the way it's stated. I think before we say we're going to put it in, we have to see it and make a determination, do we want it put in? You understand where I'm coming from? You know, these are the minutes, this is the way our minutes are presented to us all the time. If we're going to make a determination that a new set of minutes or something is going to be added into that, it's got to be distributed to us, and then we make a determination whether or not we feel that that should be the minutes, that should be the public record. Because personally, you know, I don't remember a lot of this, and that could be for a variety of reasons, but I don't remember a lot of this. So
We certainly don't want to have people voting on something that they're not comfortable with or what they don't have the information in front of them. So back to the original suggestion that we table this set of minutes until the next meeting. So Mr. Gesford, your motion to amend was not seconded, so
Right.
if you would like to
I rescind my.
rephrase your motion to table.
no, he can't.
I can't. I have to take it back.
Move to table
Well-
until the next meeting.
Somebody, are you moving?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or misunderstanding on this, Mrs. Harshman? All those in favor, please signify. 7-0, and student concurs. Well, that was rather painful.
That was.
I appreciate that, Mrs. Harshman. Okay.
Touch wood. Sorry.
All right, where does that leave us? I think we finished reports. I've discussed the future agenda items. This brings us to board member comments. Ms. Greenwald, would you like to lead off?
Sure. Last Wednesday, I was able to attend the Chamber of Commerce's Economic Summit. I believe it was AT&T who sponsored my attendance and then opened the opportunity for a handful of other students to attend with me. And I really enjoyed the evening, the presentation, and thank you to Dr. Wilcox for notifying me and other students of this really awesome opportunity. And in the same spirit of Dr. Wilcox's report, I would like to thank Dr. Hardings and Mrs. Brightman for their years of service to this board. I feel very lucky that for the majority of my years as a student in WCPS, that I was being represented by the two of them. I feel very lucky that they were advocating for small learning communities, one of which, the International Baccalaureate Program, has greatly shaped who I am and the future that I will inevitably pursue. I also feel very lucky that for 18 out of the 24 months that I will serve on this board, that I served under their leadership. I'm really unable to articulate the amount of time and effort that Dr. Hardings and Mrs. Brightman invested in me, ensuring that my transition onto this board was smooth and making sure that I had proper materials to be prepared for meetings and for higher level discussions. They have made the position of student member one of substance and one of integrity, and I am very grateful for their vision, for their support and amplification of student voice, and for the camaraderie that they brought to this board, and that I will certainly miss the two of them.
Thank you, Ms. Greenwald. Mrs. Harshman.
No comment.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Dr. Hardings and Mrs. Brightman for their service to the school system and the students of Washington County, and I wish you both well in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Dr. Wilcox.
I have no comment.
Very good. Dr. Hardings.
Sure. First, I want to thank the Clear Spring community for the great Veterans Day event last week. It was as good and stirring as it ever is. It really is something I intend to continue doing after I'm off the board. Thanks to Mr. Hudson for his work, or Corporal Hudson, he had his uniform on. And thanks to Sergeant Marriott, who had his uniform on, also wore the same regimental crest that I wear, so that was fun to see. It's a real jewel for this county, and I think a model for what kids can do, and a model for, again, I don't want to jump into the debate about whether we should have school on Veterans Day or not, but if you see what goes on at that school, I think you realize that the kids are learning quite a bit about Veterans Day and what it means to be a veteran and to serve the country by what the staff and students do at that school on Veterans Day. So thanks to the team at Clear Spring for that. It's something I'll miss when I'm not on the board, so that's why I think maybe I'll continue to go. I want to thank everybody for their well wishes. I was thinking earlier today, this is probably about my 200th business meeting. That's hard to imagine. And as we were talking before, Ms. Greenwald said, gee, you've been on the board more than half of my life.
Ooh.
So that makes somebody who thought he was a young board member feel old, that's for sure. I'm not going to go through the list of people to thank. It's too many, and I fear that I would leave somebody out. But I do want to thank my family. I want to thank Nicole for being here today for my last meeting. People talk often about the amount of time that it takes serving on the board, and it does take a lot of time to prepare for meetings and attend meetings, go downstate and all of that. But and the family is the one that has to support that. So in a great sense, they serve every bit as much as all of us do. But beyond that, it's for me, it's the mental energy that serving takes, because at least I am thinking about these things all the time, probably more than I'd like to sometimes, about issues that are going to come before us, or concerns that parents or members of the community raise, or redistricting, or it's just on your mind. And if it's on your mind, it's on your family's mind, because it's what you're thinking about, it's what you're talking about with them. And I just want to thank Nicole and Ben and Josie and Ellie for their support of me in doing this. Because in a very real sense, they've served the community every bit as much as I have. And I just want them to know that I love them and I appreciate it. And rather than talking about, thinking about the things we've done, I just want to close with a story, because I feel like it's been a good capstone for my service on the board, and it's been really meaningful to me over the last 6 or 8 months. Last spring, I met a young man who was a senior in one of our high schools. I've gotten to know him pretty well over the last 6 or 8 months. I've learned his story. He was born and spent the first through 3rd grade or so in inner city DC with his mother and I think it's 6 siblings or half-siblings. And when he was in the 3rd grade, his mother decided that she needed to get the family away from the lack of opportunity, from some of the crime that was surrounding their home, and the bad influences that she was worried were going to lead her kids down the wrong path. They moved to Hagerstown. They live on the southern end of Hagerstown, went to Williamsport High School. After 4 years at Williamsport High School, working hard, a mother who really worked with him, tried to keep him on the right track, a grandfather who really cared about him, served as a mentor to him. He graduated near the top of his class from Williamsport last spring rather, and he's now on a full scholarship at Notre Dame. That connected to me, of course, because I went to Notre Dame, and to hear about a local graduate going there, I reached out to him and talked to him. That's how I learned his story. We had lunch a few times this summer. We talked about the school, talked about the excitement of going to college. He's now in the engineering school. He started his own business and is just thriving in his new life. That speaks to me because while he did a lot of work and his mother kept him on the right track and his grandfather certainly had a lot to do with mentoring him, we did that too. And I don't mean we at the table. I mean we as a public school system. His teachers did that. His principals did that. His bus drivers did that. They all had something to do with giving that kid the opportunity when his life could have gone in a very different direction. But because we have great schools here and great people committed to kids, and because he had some people in his family who helped to keep him on the right track, we got him to where he is. And I'm proud of that. I think we should all be proud of that as a community. Because there are no other institutions that I can think of in our country or in our society that can do what our public schools can do. There's no other institution that could do for that kid, give that kid the opportunity he had, like the public schools can. And I'm the first one to say that we don't get it right for every kid. There are kids that we don't reach that don't have good experiences, and that's why we're all here, to try to figure out how we can make those kids have the experiences we want to have. But there are kids out there who we make a difference for every day. And as you all move forward in caring for this school system, I hope you will all never forget that, because I know I certainly won't either.
Thank you, Dr. Hardings. Yes, Vic.
Well, thank you. I would like to congratulate Jonathan Hager Elementary School on their service to the veterans ceremony that they had. It was very well attended. I would think probably close to 150 parents and veterans and the students were all a part of that program, and it was really a wonderful morning celebration for the veterans. So thank you very much. I too would like to thank Dr. Hardings for his caring and knowledge for the school system and his willingness to serve on the board. Also, Mrs. Brightman, for your dedication to MABE. You've done a lot for that organization, the school system, and most importantly for the students of Washington County. I would also like to congratulate our new fellow board members, Stan Stauffer, Peter Bickford, and Wayne Ridenauer for winning, and I look forward to working with them in the future. So thank you all, and thank you for your service, and your service as a veteran. Thank you.
Mrs. Fisher. I, too, attended the Veterans Assembly at Clear Spring High School. I've attended it for many, many years. I was there for the first one, actually. It's always a wonderful presentation. To Mrs. Brightman and to Dr. Hardings, this is hard. I want to say thank you for your time, for your hard work and dedication, and the many positive contributions you've made to this school system. You will be sorely missed.
Thank you. Mr. Ridenauer.
Thank you, Mrs. Brightman. I too want to say thank you to both of you folks. Don and I probably go back farther together than any group. Well, maybe Jackie. And we butted heads so many times, it's almost hard to put that number in a basket. But the bottom line was I never questioned your dedication to the system, dedication to students, your efforts on behalf of the board and on the behalf of our kids and the community in general through your work down in Annapolis will be missed. I wish you nothing but the best. Dr. Hardings, I can remember speaking to you before you decided, or right about the time you decided to run. And the kids, where's Nicole? The kids were much smaller at that point in time. I also want to thank you for having Josie teach me how to use emojis and a lot of other things on the on my cell phone. It was greatly appreciated. But you're not only a colleague, you're a dear friend, someone that I trust implicitly. I know that if I call you, I'm going to get a straight answer, even if you're PO'd at me, ticked off at me about some decision that I've made or a comment I've made. I understand that you're looking out for the best interest of the students of Washington County, and for that I am greatly appreciative. And I'm also appreciative that you are willing to sit down and talk at any time about policy, about students, about other issues. You are the consummate board member and a dear friend. So our loss is Nicole and the kids' gain. I know the reason that you decided not to run, and I agree with it 100%. And Nicole, thank you for the 8 years that you spared him for us. That is also greatly appreciated. So, my friend, thank you. Donna, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I guess it leaves me at the moment. It's been an absolute fantastic ride. All the staff in the back, getting to know all of you, knowing how you live your lives for the children and putting them first. And Dr. Wilcox, 2011, when you became superintendent, I remember the interview, and after you left the interview, I remember the board members sat there and we were just stunned that someone with your vision and ability would actually come to Washington County. Miss Greenwald, I was lucky enough, my husband, I think he had something to do with it, to have 2 sons. In the 2 year and a half I've worked with you, I wish I'd had a daughter. You're so courageous, nuanced, intelligent, feeling, caring, and you have represented the student government and your student colleagues very well. It's been an honor. I couldn't get away without actually saying something about education policy. Friday and Saturday of this week, I'll be leading a retreat for MABE in Columbia. And the theme I will be taking forward to my colleagues across the state is that the largest barrier to innovation is internal politics and a culture of status quo. Both K-12 and higher ed are headed into a totally new reality and transformation of education. We can no longer rely on textbook-driven, classroom-driven, or teacher-directed education model. We can't just put a fresh coat of paint on an old education model. Our recent tech initiative was not meant to be about another word processing tool, but technology as a complete game changer. A change that is critical to helping our students stay ahead of a constantly changing world. It will begin with seat time waivers that will set the stage for a 21st century learning that happens anytime, any place, year-round, 24/7. Our students' future is based on our understanding that they don't need better schools, but completely different schools. It has been an honor. We are at the end of our agenda, and the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for your kind.
Yeah.